What's up, y'all? My name is JR, and for those of you who don't already know, I'm a huge movie and TV nerd. If you're new here, I appreciate you taking the time to check out my channel. I hope you'll consider sticking around and joining the film community I'm trying to build here on YouTube. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over the things I thought were good, the things I thought were bad, and the things I thought were downright ugly in Tyler Perry's latest film, Straw. And for good measure, I'll also be giving you guys my overall review of the film as well. And just so you guys know, this video will contain mild spoilers, so if you haven't gotten around to watching this movie yet and you don't want to know anything that happens in it, you might want to exit this video now. And with that being said, no more wasting time. Let's get into it. Straw is an American thriller film written, produced, and directed by Tyler Perry. The film stars Taraji P. Henson, Sherry Shepherd, Tiana Taylor, Sinbad, Rockman Dunbar, Ashley Verscher, Mike Merrill, and Glenn Turman. And the film was released on Netflix on June the 6th of this year. Now, at the time of the making of this video, the movie has a 46% on Rotten Tomatoes, based on just 13 critic reviews, with a popcorn meter that currently sits at 77%. The film has a Metascore of 56 on Metacritic, based on just 7 critic reviews, and it has a user score of 4.7, based on only 16 user ratings. And finally, the movie has a 6.6 out of 10 on IMDb, with almost 5,500 ratings. Now, I approach this film with extreme caution because if you've been here with me for a while, then you know I don't really think much of Tyler Perry as a writer. And in saying that, I want to make it clear that I happen to think he's a rather serviceable director and an amazing producer. But again, where he really struggles is in the writing department, in my opinion. And because of that, a lot of his films fall flat from a narrative perspective, and that tends to be why I hate most of them. But in this particular case, I thought Tyler Perry did a little better than I expected going in. And so, while also seeing that there were still some issues and some problems. And so what I thought was I would give you guys a kind of the good, the bad, the ugly kind of situation, and we would go forward from there. So I'll start off with the things I thought Tyler Perry did rather well. Chief among them being his selection of Taraji P. Henson to play the main character. Guys, she did an absolutely amazing job with what she was given here. She absolutely positively carries this film on her back. No doubt about it. Really, I honestly don't know if this film works at all without her performance. If someone else had played this part, I'm not quite sure the film would be as good as it wound up being. And if that weren't enough, it's being reported that she filmed this movie in just 4 days, while she was in Atlanta filming Fight Night for Peacock. And, after watching the film and hearing that, it doesn't surprise me to learn that she filmed this movie so quick because I could kind of tell that the movie was written for a quick shoot, as most of it takes place inside the bank. And so, that's kind of one of the tricks of the trade that you would do if you needed a really quick shoot. You go, well, make the whole thing, take place in a single location or as close to a single location as possible. And that's kind of how you can save shoot days and save money. And even the scenes that happened outside the bank tended to be really quick scenes with very minimal dialogue. So, again, I just thought Taraji was just off the charts great here. Now, I will say that there's some people that I know in my real life that were on Facebook talking about she deserved an Oscar. I'm like, no, see, now we're taking it a little too far. But still, really, really good job by Taraji. I was really, really, really impressed by her performance in this movie. Now, I also thought that Tyler Perry took his usual story of female struggle, because let's be clear about something. Every single movie is about female struggle. It's to the point where I almost wonder if he likes black women or what, or if he's ever met a black woman that was well-to-do, especially in Atlanta where they're all over the place. But I digressed. And here, at the very least, he made that struggle feel a bit more honest and organic than he typically might. Which I greatly appreciated. Because, look, Tyler Perry usually forces the struggles down the throats of his main female characters simply for the sake of drama, wherein here, The struggle overall and each individual struggle felt more like the result of the previous struggle, something that was both exacerbating and inevitable. And that just made it go down a little easier in this particular case. Now, I also thought the twist at the story's climax was actually smartly conceived and pretty competently executed. Perry really did catch me by surprise when I learned that Janiyah wasn't crashing out because she was trying to save her daughter, but that she had already lost her, and that we were dealing with somebody that maybe had a psychotic break where she wasn't willing to deal with the loss of her daughter. And this is kind of why all this happened. I have to admit that I didn't expect that. And I always tell you guys that it's always the why that will ultimately decide whether your movie is good or bad, right? And I have to admit, like I said, I didn't have that one on my bingo card. So gold star for TP in that regard. And now for the bad. I thought TP made a huge narrative mistake when he had Janiyah kill Richard, her boss, played by my man Glenn Turman, at the job after the robbery. It's clear that the point here is to have the audience support Janiyah throughout her ordeal. But the minute she kills someone, she becomes a murderer, plain and simple. And I just think that Perry could have simply had the robber kill Richard during the robbery and have Janiyah simply be witness to and traumatized by said event. That way her hands would stay clean, narratively speaking, so that when she finally enters the bank, despite her absolute crash out, she hasn't done anything that the audience might see as irredeemable yet. And then they can be less conflicted about being on her side throughout the rest of the movie. I think, like I said again, I think that's the biggest narrative mistake that he made. And that's absolutely something that I would have changed, for example, had I written this movie. The second thing is, much like Perry selecting Taraji to play the role of the protagonist worked extremely well here, I thought his selection of Teyana Taylor to play the police detective was a poor choice in this particular case. And, before y'all come for me, I've seen Teyana perform well in some other films that she's been in, but here, I just couldn't get jiggy with her as a cop. She didn't give me cop energy here, right? I thought that there would have been many better choices for this role that Tyler Perry could have chosen, especially with this film hinging so heavily on so many of her scenes. She was a very, very, very pivotal character, right? And third, I thought there were some unnecessary elements involved in the telling of this tale, elements that slowed the flow of the story. The FBI being involved in the siege was chief among them, in my opinion, because that plot point really wasn't needed here. The story could have been told without the FBI negotiator in the van arguing with Teyana Taylor's Detective Raymond. And even if Perry thought of these scenes as character developing moments, which I certainly did not, those scenes could have been included with the police negotiator, the white guy who was in support of Detective Raymond just earlier in the film. Sometimes less is more, unless there are unmitigated circumstances, that is. And so, I know people are going to say, well, the FBI would show up here and there, whatever. But it just, sometimes your story staying nice and tight is the best thing that you can do for a story, right? And then there was also the bomb, or the fake bomb, right? That was just stupid in my opinion. And it literally violated the tenet of Chekhov's gun. If you're a writer, then you know what I mean by that. But for those of you who aren't, the principle states that if you show someone a gun, for example, in your film, especially if you focus on it, then at some point that gun has to be fired, or else what the hell is the point in emphasizing it in the first place, right? And speaking of guns, she had one. So the bomb was unnecessary. And for those of you who would try to remind me that the bomb was what was keeping the FBI from coming in, keep in mind, I already said the FBI wasn't needed here, but I would remind you that it was SWAT who stormed the building anyway. So the bomb wasn't needed. As soon as, the police found out that the bomb was fake, they came in anyway, right? So, yes, if Taraji's character was some kind of engineer who built things, like my man in Law Abiding Citizen was, then a bomb makes some sense, right? I'm crashing out, I'm gonna go blow up a bank. But she wasn't. She was a cashier at a grocery store, right? And so her and her daughter building a fake bomb and her throwing that in the book bag to carry around, I'm just like, why is that the one thing she picks up out of everything? And I get it, because the daughter's dead, we don't know that yet. But still, all the stuff that's laid out on the front lawn, all that stuff, she goes, let me carry around this fake bomb, just, reasons. It was an extra emphasized prop with no real narrative utility. deduction, right? And now for the ugly. There were some points in this film where the dialogue just got downright abysmal, right? Perry's small writing literally turned a handful of his characters into cartoon villains. Richard spoke so out of turn that it was just unbelievable. And I get it, right? Perry needs us to see that Richard is a really bad guy, so when he gets killed, we don't care. But there are just better and more subtle ways to get that done, in my opinion. This really is an art form. When you want to make somebody evil or bad, you really have to take care to kind of protect their humanity. And Richard's humanity was not taken into consideration here, which is ironic because I know people will say, well, Richard didn't take into consideration Jania's humanity. But I said what I said. And the same goes for Officer Oliver, right? His dialogue was just way too much. There were much more subtle word choices that would have conveyed the very same message that he was trying to get across. In fact, I think his threat would have been much more ominous had there been some room for interpretation, especially because he makes said threat in the presence of another police officer. And this was just plain old bad writing here by Perry. But I'm not surprised because small writing has never really been his thing, right? And so, there's that. Now, overall, I'd give this movie a 60%, or a 6.0 if you're thinking IMDb score, right? And look, despite how I feel about Tyler Perry's work, I really admire him overall as a filmmaker. I want to make that clear. And as an aspiring filmmaker myself, I could only hope to have the career that he has had. Also, I love the fact that he keeps black actors working consistently. But his work, especially in recent memory, has been extremely suspect, maybe even from the very beginning with, the Madea stuff. And I have to be honest about that. Like, if we're going to do this thing, just because I'm a black, film critic, if you want to call me that, doesn't mean that I just have to just, mindlessly cape up for any black filmmaker. We can talk about their work and the merits of it therein. And I say all that to say that this may be the first Tyler Perry film, certainly in the streaming area, that I found to be not only watchable, but dare I say, rewatchable. And for me, that's a very, very, very big step in the right direction. I just hope Tyler Perry continues either learning as a writer or he finally gets to the point where he starts hiring people to write his scripts for him. But what do you guys think? Have you had a chance to watch Straw yet? If you have, how do you think this particular offering stacked up against Perry's previous films? Let me know in the comments. And for those of you that might be new to the channel, be sure to like and share this video. If you really like the content, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you'll be notified whenever I drop a new video. You can also now support the channel by leaving a super thanks. If you should be so inclined, I'd greatly appreciate it. Also, be sure to go and check out themadScreenwriter.com for more television and film reviews and info on my upcoming film projects. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I got screenplays to write. And I'll catch y'all on the next video.